Hi everyone. So today's story is called A Surprise for Cyril. Let's find out what the surprise is. Cyril was worried about Charlie. Charlie wasn't very well. He was getting fatter and fatter. He was getting slower and slower. Here's the cat, look. Oh, Charlie, sighed Cyril. I shall have to take you to the vet. He put the lock on the cat flap so that Charlie couldn't get out of the house. Whenever Charlie had to travel somewhere, Cyril would put him into a special basket that looked like a bit like a cage. When Cyril brought it from out of the cupboard under the stairs, Charlie would hear the basket creak and shoot off to find a hiding place. That's why Cyril locked the cat flap first. He knows he's going to the vet if that comes out. But this time, when Charlie heard the noise of the basket, he barely twitched his ears. He didn't even complain when Cyril put him in the basket, which he lined with fresh newspaper. They looked at each other through the bars of the metal door. Oh, Charlie, sighed Cyril again. Let's get going. See what the vet has to say about you. Sounds like he's not feeling well at all. Well, Charlie, the vet said in a business-like way. Let's see what the problem is. Then he felt Charlie's tummy. He prodded and poked, squidged and stroked, and then he started to laugh. Cyril couldn't see what was funny. Well, said the vet, wiping a tear from the corner of his eye, there's nothing to worry about. Charlie's quite well. In fact, you'll soon be surprised how well he is. Then, still laughing, he gave Cyril some pills, which he said were vitamins, and that would help Charlie build his strength up. When they got home, Cyril tried to give Charlie the vitamins. He slipped one of the pills onto the back of Charlie's tongue. He held Charlie's mouth shut until he thought he'd swallowed it. They looked at each other for a while and let Cyril go. With a little cough, the pill flew out of Charlie's mouth and shot across the kitchen floor. Cyril tried again and again, but Charlie would not swallow the pill. Then Cyril crushed it up and mixed it with Charlie's favourite food. But Charlie wasn't interested. He sat by the cat flap and waited for Cyril to unlock it. Then he headed straight for the shed and squeezed into the space underneath. And there he stayed. He was still there when Cyril came to see him the next morning. Something's wrong, isn't it? If we know that from before he would just run out of the cat flap and he'd be happy. He doesn't seem it. I suppose it's all right, Cyril tutted to himself. The vet said I'll be surprised how well soon he'll be. Perhaps he just needs to be left alone to rest. So that's what Cyril did. He left Charlie alone. He went shopping. Then, when he got back home, he made his lunch. He had just sat down to eat when he heard the sound of the cat flap. It was Charlie. He was carrying a tiny kitten in his mouth. He had put the kitten into the basket and gave Cyril a big smile. Cyril froze like a statue. His mouth was open and his fork full of lunch stuck halfway between his plate and his mouth. Charlie went back through the cat flap. He came back a minute later with another kitten. That had been the matter with Charlie. Charlie carried on backwards and forwards until there were 4 tiny kittens nuzzling up and drinking milk. Cyril finally put his fork down and roared with laughter. The vet was right, he said, tickling between Charlie's ears. You really have surprised me. All this time I thought you were a boy. And now, well, you are a mummy with 4 dear little kittens of your own. They'll all need names, but first we'll have to think of a new name for you. Now, will it be Charlotte or Charlene? That was a shorter story in this book and collection of stories. And there was the surprise. Charlie wasn't a boy cat, he was a girl cat and had some lovely kittens. You might, before you go to sleep tonight, think of what names there could be for those kittens. You might have a cat yourself and know what a good name would be. Right, good night. Sleep well and we'll see you tomorrow for your learning.